Welcome to the Paul Has Fun podcast. I'm Paul, and on this podcast, I dig into my hobbies. I also document my life and interests. Thank you so much for spending time with me. 2023 is The Flash, produced by Warner Brothers, one of their many DCU films. A film that we're talking about now, $269 million later. And as of this recording, I'm recording this August 21st, 22nd. It's going to be premiering on Max. For streaming at home. Anyone can, watch this who subscribes to Max if you haven't watched it already. I think it was a fun time at the movies. I'm going to let Jason G give a much more detailed spoiler review. But, the box office for these films fascinate me. This movie made $269 million globally. So according to Google, the movie was made for a production budget of $200 million. The marketing budget was $65 million, and it says to break even, it had to cross $400 million. That's not confirmed. That's more like speculation, but $400 million it had to cross at the global box office. So this movie is considered a flop, unfortunately. But you can definitely make a documentary about the production of this movie, because this was announced in October 2014, and it's officially come out like 9 years later, just about, almost 10. And then when you talk about, there were 4 different directors over that period of time of making the movie that dropped out of making the movie. Another thing is Ezra Miller and all his criminal activity and all the crazy stuff that was happening with him, and getting arrested by police and choking people and breaking into other people's houses while the production of this movie was happening. So, and then another interesting thing regarding just the DCU films, I went on Wikipedia just to see the release dates of all the movies, and it seemed like after Aquaman, which was the last billion-dollar DCU film, it was one of the few in all these DCEU releases. After that, I will read off some of the other titles that have come out, and they just have not really performed at the box office. And those being the first Shazam, the Birds of Prey movie, the Wonder Woman 1984, which was like a simultaneous release because it came out during the pandemic and didn't make much at the box office. Also, the Suicide Squad, James Gunn's Suicide Squad, Black Adam, Shazam 2, now The Flash. And as of this recording, Blue Beetle came out last week, and the box office for that was super low as well, reported this last Monday. A lot of these movies really not being very successful. But out of all those movies that I've read to you, one that I didn't really enjoy was Birds of Prey, but everything else I've either had a good time with or I thought this was great. So $269 million later, The Flash, unfortunately, is going to go down as one of 2023's flops, one of these big production flops, and there's a bunch that are going to be on that list. I can think off the top of my head, like Indiana Jones, like I said, Blue Beetle before. Even the Blue Beetle has only had 1 week in the box office. Let's see what happens in the remaining weeks. But now let's go ahead and get into a bit of a more detailed review by Jason G. Let's do that.
Yeah, so let's see. The Flash was a really, really good movie. I was actually very surprised that it wasn't a big mess, because there was a long history of making this movie and its list of problems. And, I just was not expecting a whole lot, but it was actually very well done. Kudos to Andy, I forgot his last name, but he's the director of It and It Part 2, which were very well done. And yeah, he's a director to look out for. He's going to have a great career, I think. He's for him to be able to pull this together and create a movie that takes the Flashpoint storyline and put in so much fun and so many Easter eggs. I mean, it was a great movie. So let's talk about how all the good stuff. This is going to be filled with spoilers. First of all, it's a really fun time travel movie. Barry goes back and tries to save his mother, and how he puts some tomatoes in the shopping cart That was really cool, because she did that. Then the father didn't go to get it later, and then she ended up not getting killed. So that was pretty cool. Then when Barry meets himself in this new alternate universe, it was really fun to see him with his sillier self, because the two of them together, like, basically it was him playing the same character but different universes. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it was truly a lot of laughs, and it was fun to watch these scenes. When he meets Michael Keaton's 1989 Batman, I mean, that was this movie is just such fun with all the nostalgia. I mean, it is so fun. The new Spider-Man animated movie Across the Spider-Verse had maybe a little more Easter eggs, but this was over the top with like pop culture, and everything had to do with Batman and the different types of different versions of Batman and all the different versions of Superman throughout the years. But we'll talk about that later. Anyway, Michael Keaton was so cool. He was ultra cool. I mean, he was absolutely perfect, and he just they make him do everything like so good. Like, he's just great, and he does everything so perfectly. Like, this is the way Batman should be. I think he has a little more higher tech stuff, but the Batcave with all the bats coming out is the same. Of course he says "I'm Batman" line, which we all expected because that was in the trailer. But then he said, "You want nuts? Let's get nuts." That was not in the trailer, I think, and that was awesome to hear. The Bat Jet was unbelievable. I mean, it was so cool to watch that thing fly. And then I loved all the humor with, like, pop culture references, how it was different in that alternate universe. Like Eric Stoltz playing Marty McFly in Back to the Future instead of Michael J. Fox. I think they said Michael J. Fox was in Footloose, and I think they said Kevin Bacon was in Top Gun, and I don't know, it was a lot of stuff, but it was cool. You saw Aquaman's father from the first Aquaman movie, and I think he did not meet Aquaman's mother in this one. Then they had all these like Superman Easter eggs when they had all these different universes coming up. They had George Reeves, the original TV Superman. You see him. You had Christopher Reeve and Helen Slater together. I mean, that's the original, like, Superman, Supergirl. That was awesome. I did not expect that. Oh my gosh, the Adam West as Batman, and a really big, cool Superman reference when they had Tim Burton's Nicolas Cage's Superman, and that was, I think, written by, was it Kevin Smith? But that was awesome. I really did not expect that. You had cool fights with old enemies like General Zod and his crew, and then the new Supergirl that came out. She was pretty cool. She did some good fighting. Anyway, it was overall a great movie. It was fun. One last thing, the end credits were pretty fun. The opening scene was fun because they had this great scene of the Flash saving all these babies and this nurse and all these things coming out of this building that was collapsing. They did like a little fun end credits scene with the dog. I think it was like a comfort dog or like a service dog that was falling, and then you see the Flash running behind him. The dog like hits flowers. He tries to eat like a sandwich or a burrito. He's hitting falling babies, and then the Flash finally saves him. But that was really cool. And then they had this great post-credit sequence with Jason Momoa's Aquaman, and how the Flash was trying to get him to go up to his room or his apartment so he could sleep on the sofa, and then Aquaman was drunk, and then he like falls face first into a puddle. He's like, "No, I'm home right here. I'll sleep here." It's like a big puddle of water. So that was pretty funny. Anyway, the score I will give this, I think, is gonna be an 8.2. Yeah, I think it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this movie. I hope you all get to see it. Check it out. Yeah, we should get a lot of good DC movies coming out soon, with James Gunn as creative supervisor, CEO, whatever, of all the DC stuff. So looking forward to all the new stuff that's coming. Anyway, this is Jason G. Take care, everyone. Have a great summer. See some good movies.
Post your thoughts, comments, feedback, wherever you may be listening to this, wherever you may be watching this. You could always do it on paulhasfun.com. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And I will catch you on the next one.